And we're live.
We're live. Good.
Hmm.
Uh,
And I have to
Let me get rid of
shift a
this.
bit.
What?
Well, normally I'm the right side of the picture, so then I have to.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
doesn't matter.
Uh, now I can't see anything actually because I don't think I've got the secondary monitor uh, on. Okay, I turned on this monitor. Now can I see the screen? Because interaction is, of course. If I move this here, oh yeah, yeah. Oh wait, I can move the mouse. It's wireless. Yay, it works more or less. I'm a little bit fuzzy. Oh, because I'm closer to the camera. Hold on.
It's Friday, so there's all kinds of mishaps going on. Hey, Mike, and John Del Aros. That's a nice name.
Is this
Hey,
better? Yeah,
Michiel.
this is more focused. I think so. So my camera is set to 4K because I filmed everything on Elfia in 4K, which explains why I had such a hard time filming there because I was like, why is everything so cropped and everything's out of
Oh,
focus? For 2 days I've been filming apparently in 4K and I did not realize it. And this camera crops to 70%. So it's like, what's going on? It's
but you
it's been
have
a
a
yeah.
crisp image now, or not?
Yeah, this is I'm here in 4K, but I think our streaming software can only do 720p, so it's a bit overkill. Anyway,
Yeah.
I've noticed how. By the way, hello everybody. This is our weekly community hour. We haven't been doing a community hour for the last 2 weeks because of Easter and just lots and lots of stuff. That was a bit out of the ordinary, but Inge threatened to leave the company if we didn't do a community hour today. So
It's only half true. I
no,
did,
but
I, I did spread a little bit.
yeah, you reminded me
My
that it
job.
was important.
My job.
Yes,
It's my job. Yeah.
but it's been a bit of a crazy day.
Yeah.
So last weekend I was actually the both of us we were on
Yeah.
Saturday at this fantasy festival, and I wanted to film and to do interviews and make something for my English audience or my international audience, and I had forgotten how long ago it was when I last held a camera, so I was so out of it, and it took me that entire weekend to get back into the groove of filming. It's so weird how
Yeah.
how you can forget about that. But anyway,
Yeah, we had 2 long weekends in a row. So the weekend before that was a Good Friday, just that's why we didn't stream. And then
true.
Easter, and you and no, and then we had to prepare for this other long weekend where we had to work for Elfia to make
Hmm.
a video. So yeah, I was like, okay, we need to make sure that next Thursday it's Liberation Day. So there's always this
There's always a reason.
yeah, well, there's always this a time of the year is Easter. Then it's King's Day in the Netherlands, which is a day off. So
Yeah,
all kinds of stuff is closed. Then the week after, it's Memorial Day and Liberation Day. So
yeah.
Victory Day. So and then it's going, and then we have Pentecost, not Pentecost,
Ascension
Ascension
Day.
Day. Yeah.
Yeah,
So and it's all every week there's something, and it gets me out of
true.
my groove.
It is.
And
It's very hard. This is the toughest time to stay on schedule with stuff, and not to mention that just a lot of things just often just happen. Like the so I've been planning the trips to Rome. So that's going to be in 2 weeks from now. And of course, that was not planned. It was just Pope Francis who said, "Hey, let's go and canonize this Dutch dude." And it was like, "What now? Like now?"
and the entire country was, Father Roderick, are you going?
Well, yeah. Well, I've said this like years ago that if there would be a canonization, I would go to Rome,
Yeah.
no matter what. So I booked the flight, but it was not in the schedule for this year. I did not count on this at all, because I'd already more or less promised that I would also go to Anaheim for the Star Wars convention, which I was supposed to go to in 2020, but then it got canceled multiple times because of COVID. But the tickets were still valid. So and that's also in the month of May. So it all kind of like all of a sudden there's this huge travel thing in my schedule on top of all the Easter, Pentecost, and all that stuff. And then this, like, when was it? I think I started doing TikTok on my birthday. I remember that I woke up and I was like, so what are you going to do this year? How are you going to make this year special? And I had been, as you know, thinking about somehow engaging with TikTok because I was so enthusiastic about the medium, but I didn't know what I could add. I was like feeling very insecure. Like, I'm a podcast guy and I know long form YouTube, but I cannot do like a 1 minute video. Like, I'm a huge fan of a lot of these TikTokers, and they were doing, like, Dr. Julie, she's like a psychologist.
My
and
colleague, yeah.
yeah, she does these like 1 minute, super interesting, fun, very informative videos. And to me, that was kind of like a mental norm. Like, I have to do something like that. And then it's like, but that's not my style. I'm usually very wordy. Like a short homily is 25 minutes. How on earth can I do videos that are just 1 minute long?
Which is very, very un-Catholic, because most people
I know,
like 10
I know.
minutes.
It's
But those 10 minutes feel like half an hour. Your 25 minutes feel like 10 minutes. So it's kind of okay.
It kind of cancels it out. But I know that I woke up on my birthday and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to start. I'm going to do things differently from now on. I'm not going to wait until the momentum is there, until I feel that I'm ready, until I've studied 100,000 online courses on how to do TikTok. I'm just going to start, and I am going to show up every single day. That's a promise I made. I don't care what the quality is. I don't mind how tired I am. I will make sure that I'm there every day, and I will learn while doing. But what so I kind of expected this to be a long journey that may actually completely fail. But I wanted to give it a go. For 1 year, I would try out this medium. And so I started to make these videos. And in the beginning, I was like, yeah, a couple of hundred people viewed it. And then, but I was getting the hang of it. And I felt more comfortable just walking outside. At first I was doing these very super scripted things, and I was sitting here in the studio and I was like making sure the light was good. I was using the teleprompter on my camera, and then I would go in and edit, and oh my gosh, like every video was so much work, and it looked boring because it's like vertical. So you didn't see this monitor. You just saw this big dark IKEA thing behind me, and it didn't work. I didn't like the video, so it didn't work. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk outside and just talk to the camera and do my thing. And that started to work. And the more I started to become comfortable, the more ideas I got. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go watch that new Harry Potter movie, and I'm going to do a review, but I'm not going to do it for my podcast. I'm not going to do it for YouTube, because that usually really didn't work that much. I'm going to do it on TikTok. Maybe I'll find an audience there. And then all of a sudden that review started to go not viral, but started to really spread. So I got like more than 10,000 views on that video. I was like, oh, wow. And people started to become followers.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, what else can I do? I had already tried Moon Knight, which was a total failure, both on YouTube and on TikTok. Nobody cares for that series. At least I can't find that audience. And maybe also because I was trying to duplicate what I saw other people do. Yeah, the format was also, I was trying to outrun these guys that have like entire companies based on doing these Easter egg videos, and I was just basically doing the same. So it didn't add anything. And I was like, I need to do something that it's really me and that I enjoy it. Also, like, if it becomes just work and it's not fun, it's not sustainable. So then I got the idea of doing the Batman thing. So I saw this Batman movie on HBO. I was like, oh, lots of religious themes. I'm pretty sure that not many people have noticed this. I'm going to just do an old fashioned kind of secrets of Batman, trademark SQPN. So don't tell Dom I was doing this. No, I didn't call it secrets of, but it was the same format. It was like, oh, I have things to say about this. And that got like super viral. In the meantime, I'd already mastered how to do subtitles, which is a total pain when you're in Europe because the app doesn't give you speech recognition when it knows that you are in the Netherlands. So I have to use a VPN to connect with the
Oh
app.
man.
And it only works on my iPad. It doesn't even work on my phone. So there's only my iPad, which is super inconvenient because it's a vertical format and I'm using this attached keyboard. So I am literally sitting there. Like if this is normally my iPad, I have the keyboard like sticking out like that, and oh, it's a horrible thing. So the first thing I need to do next is get myself a regular iPhone because I think it works on the iPhone, but it doesn't work on Android. So anyway, I've figured out how to do the tagging, the hashtags, and everything. So those videos just started to blow up like insanely. Hundreds of thousands of views. Like I've got this second Batman video that now has more than 400,000 views. I think it'll hit 1 million. I've never had something go viral like this on YouTube, not even my Star Wars reactions. And then people started to join they started to follow, they started to give feedback. So like, whoa, what's happening? Oh, this is going viral all of a sudden. What do I do now? And so I was like, if one thing works, make more of it. So I was just like, Batman, I'm just going to squeeze out the last drop of religious stuff. Like at one point I was like, okay, you're just like, I'm making things up just to do another video about Batman.
Yeah.
And then I asked the followers, how did I get that idea of watching anime, which is totally not something I normally watch. Maybe it was one of, I think one of my followers must have mentioned it. It's like, oh, can you watch this or that? And I was like, never heard of it, but okay. So I typed it in. Yeah, I think it was actually one of the people on TikTok that said you should check out Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is like super niche 80s last century anime, which is extremely weird. And it has lots of like Catholic imagery, but in a totally like wacky context, and it's extremely moody and well, very Japanese. Like it's so not our culture. But I was intrigued. I was like, okay, so I was getting a few requests to do that, and so I watched it and it was like, yeah, it's going to be a stretch, but I think I can do something with this. If maybe this is not allegory, this is not like, it's definitely not Tolkien. But at least I can use like the Catholic imagery to explain something about the Catholic imagery. And then I can maybe come up with some, like deep level meta interpretation. Any story basically can be connected to the gospel. It's just a matter of thinking long enough and then you'll come up with something. And so I did my first Evangelion video, and that exploded even more. So now I have, in 2 days, I think I got 20,000 new followers.
It took you 5 years to do that on YouTube, right?
Yes.
Wow.
And it's still growing. Like older videos, they keep spreading and spreading and spreading. So it's a very engaged audience. So they ask me lots and lots of questions. Apparently, the thing that triggers them is, wait, there's this priest and he's talking about anime?
Yeah.
It's like literally, there was one guy who said, "You're the first Christian that I've encountered that's not clutching his pearls when he hears the word anime."
Well, I know a few other Catholics who are totally into anime, so that's not.
But apparently, it's something, especially I guess in evangelical America. Anime is the devil. And so in that audience, that particular audience, there are so many people that have been hurt by religion. There are also lots and lots of LGBTQ people, and they're constantly asking the same questions, like, is it okay to be gay? Does God still love me? They ask me those kind of questions. There's nothing in my videos that even remotely has to do with that, but it shows how much they want to have an answer from someone of the faith, to hear that they're okay, that they're not rejected. It has really it touched me to see that, and it opened my eyes. I was like, I should continue this. This is clearly a totally unexpected field that is just ripe for the harvest. I just need to be there. I need to be there for these people. But it also means I got to watch anime now. And so I was watching this series, and they already, like, some people had already warned me, like, oh, there are some scenes that you're not going to be comfortable with. Now, I know Japanese can be sometimes very, like, ew, a bit like, yeah, okay. So, and some were even like, oh, we can't wait to when Father Roderick gets to the first part of the movie, he's gonna, like, lose his faith and be so shocked. And everybody is like, Father Roderick he's being set up. That's literally, some people's like, oh, you guys are so cruel to convince this father that he should watch this because we know what's coming, and it's like it's the last thing you want to show to a priest. And I see this conversation going on.
Everything already, so
I was already planning my response, but I'm keeping them on their toes because it keeps them watching, right? They want to see how I'm going to react to that one scene. So, you know what I did? I just went to that particular thing that they keep talking about. I watched it and was like,
wow.
Sure, right. So once I get there, I'm going to tell them, guys, I'm a priest. I hear confessions. Do you really expect me to be shocked by this? Sorry, but you got to do a better job to get me upset.
I know which buttons to push. I know which buttons to push to get you upset.
Sure, but it has nothing to do with this. But no, I mean, it's like it's so funny to see all these kind of the how do you say that?
Preconceptions.
Preconceptions, preconceived ideas that people have when it comes to faith. So they see a priest, they think, oh, he's going to be against this, and then I start my videos with, I'm a priest and I'm a geek, and literally that one phrase is already, like, generating hundreds of comments. Like, people like, oh, when he said that, I'm a priest and a geek, instant follow. I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, where have you been? But it's so funny to see that all the things that we felt like both of us have been doing this for so many years. Like 15 years ago, we were doing podcasts in Middle Earth.
Yeah.
And it still works. People are still so eager to hear that. And I can be openly, like, they are literally asking me, they're like, it's always the same. Even though I am an atheist, ... I can't stop myself from watching your videos, and please tell me more about the religious interpretation. And they start giving me all these, like, very obscure anime things. I was like, I've never heard of that, but it's like there's an atheist and he's begging me to not just to tell him that it's cool and okay to watch Japanese anime. No, that person wants to hear me talk about the religious symbolism in his favorite anime.
Yeah, but that's also what I do every time when I comment on YouTube or so. Even though I'm a Catholic, ...
It's so funny. But so I was, in the beginning, I was very careful. It's like, I don't want to overly, like, push the religious aspect. As long as I can build up a bond and people can you know, get a little bit of a dialogue over time. You know, that's kind of how we did SQPN all those years. It was like,
Yeah.
well, let's just talk about the Lord of the Rings, or Star Wars. It doesn't always have to be a religious conversation. And
No.
then, you know, through osmosis, people will maybe. But this is like, oh no, please no, don't do religious stuff. Talk angels, talk like. It's so funny, and they have so many questions. So wow, and all that. I'm literally talking about something that started a week ago. So my head is spinning. Like, okay, so
Yeah.
this is
I can
so
hear that.
not
Yeah.
planned.
Yeah.
But I've all these months that I've been thinking about this have been perfect preparation, because now I know how to do this. And I'm very good at it, because I'm very good at writing text. So these videos are prepared, and I spend an inordinate amount of time editing those videos, because I know that now is the time to build up the brand. And then later on, I can relax. It's like when I first started podcasting, I spent so much time. Like, remember when you were doing the editing for the Secrets of Harry Potter, and you spent like an entire day getting rid of all the ums and and like, my microphone is not working. Hey, are you guys still there? Are you guys
Yeah.
like, what? This sound is a really It's like the Skype was messing up, and then
Yeah.
nobody noticed until they gave it to you,
Yeah.
and then you had to edit it all out.
Yeah. Or to
But we
clean up
knew that,
audio after the cyborgs had visited.
but it did
Yeah.
actually grow that particular podcast to about 40,000, 50,000 listeners per week, which is
Yeah.
nothing to, what's the expression? It's nothing to I don't know. It's something.
Thingy.
It's it's not to be underestimated, the impact that has.
Yeah.
And even now on TikTok, there are people that they have like, aren't you by accident that guy who had a podcast about Harry Potter like 15 years ago? And it's like, yeah, that's me. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Like, my dad used to play this in the car when we were 8. And now I'm 25 and I'm talking to this. It's like, okay, you didn't have to rub it in that I'm old. But it's so funny to hear all those years later how much of an impact that podcast has had on these kids when they were in the car with their father, and their dad was playing this.
Man, I feel
this
old.
We're super old. But it also opens my eyes, like, so what I'm doing now and the way I interact with this audience can make an impact that maybe they'll remember 20 years from now. Because I've seen that happen with the stuff that we did 15 years ago. So,
Yeah.
wow, it's just fascinating.
Yeah, what I think what happens is when we are talking about mainstream topics in a non-judgmental way, we are portraying ourselves as non-judgmental people, and then people feel at ease, or they feel they trust you enough to ask those questions and to come up with, please do this, please do that, because they know they will not be attacked, they will
Yeah.
not be judged. And that's for me, that's key. And if people talk about evangelization, you talked about this in, I think, your podcast. People in the comments are trying to proselytize. I think.
Yes. So, like, Catholics were trying to convert my followers. Like, I'm trying to, like, be super broad. Like, okay, you want me to watch this anime series full of, like, crazy, like, devilish robots with girls in bikinis shooting lasers that have the shape of rosaries? Sure, I'll watch it. And then it's like, oh, but you have to. It's like, oh, please, you're chasing my people away. It's not necessary. They will, if you do evangelization right.
Yeah.
If you strike a chord, people will come to you. You don't have to force them into anything. They will move by themselves. Like just today, there was this comment this morning that I read. And this is a guy who says, or boy, probably, most of them are high school kids that are following me there. Like, so I'm a very, very lapsed Catholic, and I never thought that I would ever come back to the church. But now I've discovered you, and I really have to reconsider, and maybe I'll let you know when I get back to the church. It's like, whoa! So that
Yeah.
happened because of that video that I did
Anime.
about the
Yeah.
bikini shooting lasers, rosary ladies, killer robot droids. Okay, I'll do more of that. If that helps you to to come back to the church, I'll do anything you want.
Yeah, but that's often what in my perception goes wrong. But people think they are kind of knights who need to conquer the world and have to shepherd everybody back to the church, and then
Yeah.
they forget that it's the Holy Spirit's job to do that, and we are just usually lying in the way of him. So what I always say is, well, you need to be yourself. You need to be open. You need to be non-judgmental. And if your faith is connected with so the things you learn about your faith is also visible in your life, people will go to church by themselves. You don't have to push them.
No.
So
And it's also, faith is not just about believing stuff or adhering to doctrines or
no,
voting for a political party or something like that. And but it's just like I did a live chat the other day on TikTok, which is also quite an adventure because you've got different people showing up than here, um, and uh, and then of course you get the trolls, right? And
yeah,
there's like, oh, how many little boys have you fondled and that sort of stuff. And they do it all the time.
yeah,
And I just react like, that's not very polite to say, and that's not, that's not. Do you always like jump in a conversation and start insulting people? Well, let's not do that. Let's be respectful. I try to be respectful of you. I want to invite you to do the same, and if not, then I will ban you. And it's not because I hate you or anything. It's just I want to protect the conversation. I want people to feel safe and not be triggered, etc. So I got so much feedback on just saying that. Like
yeah,
instead of being like, "Oh, you pagan, awful person, I hate you. I'm going to ban you." It was just being understanding and kind, and so that too is just a way to hopefully show them what faith truly is about. It's about friendship. It's about respect for one another,
yeah.
and
It's not.
apparently there's just a great hunger for that.
Yeah, what it's not. It's not coercive. Never. So yeah.
Yeah, I see an old friend in the chat. We've got
Yeah, I
Captain
was waiting for
Captain
you
Jeff.
to finish so I could say
Yes,
hi to everybody who was watching. But you keep going on. You're so
I know.
enthusiastic. So hi,
It's
people in the chat room.
hey, are there people there? Wow.
So I was waving to people I knew. So hi, I'm seeing you. Hi.
It's great. It's great. But
Yeah,
yeah, these are nice times. Oh,
yeah.
Captain Jeff is talking about your long hair. Sorry, I was feeling a bit like I have to I have to go and get a
What hair?
haircut. Don't rub it in. Yeah, right. What hair? Like it's the problem when I read on the I've got a monitor here with the comments, so I have like from the how do you say that? Like my peripheral vision, I'm trying to read stuff. It's like hair. What?
What did I do?
Anyway.
Yeah.
It's fun. We've got Hey Burner 1969 listening with one earbud while monitoring a class. Wow.
Uh, I would get when I would have a Walkman or something like I would doing stuff in class. I would be called, and my stuff would be kind of taken. So, but the other way around. So teachers are listening in while the class. That's not fair.
I'm
Sorry,
so
I had
glad
to.
my hair looks nice too. Thank you so much. Viera Verso. I've been converted to Catholicism last year, but I'm having problems about which anime, movies, and games I could watch and like to write fantasy stories. I don't know if I can do these stuff. Yes, don't worry about it. That's what
We
I
do it
always
too.
say. And I there's not much that I haven't watched out of religious reasons. It's maybe like horror movies, but that's also just because I am just a chicken and I can't stand those
No,
jump
me
moments,
neither.
jump scares. But I'm always like, it's what they asked Jesus, which food should we eat? Which food should we avoid? And Jesus is like, nothing that comes from the outside can make you impure. It happens in your heart, right?
Yeah,
So I always say, if you've got a working conscience, if you pray, you have nothing to fear. There's literally nothing that can how do you say that, corrupt you. But of course, you have to be. It's like with food. If you want to be healthy, you eat healthy food. But it
yeah,
doesn't mean that all of a sudden, because you're a vegetarian, you can't enjoy good food or something like that. But many people are, I think, a bit almost superstitious that, oh, but if I watch that one anime series, like I'm going to go to hell or that sort of stuff. It's like, no.
no,
These are stories. Stories, there's always something you can get out of a story. And that's what I try to do with the videos, like show them, don't push away. It's very hard to find your true identity if that implies that you nullify the identity of others. It's very difficult to build up your own culture if that consists in canceling the culture around you. That's not the Catholic way. It's never either or. It's always, how can I reach out? How can I integrate this? How can I find what's in the stories that maybe are not Christian that I can relate to, and that I can add to? We are here to add value to the world, not to rob the world from its value.
yeah. I like to say I like what Saint Paul has to say about this. That's also what a church document called Nostra Aetate is referring to. So
Just
in the
name dropping.
yeah, if people want to
But
read,
if
but
I
if people,
remember, in Exercitum Novum, Pope Pius the 14th said, but go ahead. I will add that later.
Man, you're so mean.
It's Friday.
What I wanted to say is that in the beginning of the letter to the Romans, Saint Paul says that God can be found everywhere, even if in people, if even people who don't know God or they haven't read the Bible can find God in nature, in and other areas. So God will reveal Himself. That can also be in anime. That can also be in fantasy stories, if He wants to. So if Saint Paul has no problem with it, why should we have a problem with it?
Yeah. I mean,
That's my take on it. So
let's be honest. In the church, there have always been times where the church has condemned other points of view and has been sometimes countercultural, but I think it's not the best way to bring people in. And I, especially now that we know so much about storytelling and how much stories are always about the same questions, the same fundamental questions. I mean, it's not because anime mostly stems from Japanese culture that it's not Christian culture. It doesn't mean that we have nothing in common. Maybe their approach may be different, but it's always about choices that people make. And it's
yeah,
so funny that even in those weird, wacky anime series where it's all about devils and stuff and perversion, etc., ultimately you still want to root for the good guy, right? You want the heroes to win. So that is intrinsic. Those are intrinsic values that I can relate to from my
yeah,
point of view, and so you just have to build a bridge. That's all.
yeah.
Hey, Rob.
So, yeah. So I wasn't Catholic when first met Father. I was an evangelical, and I warmed up to Catholicism by watching Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
So that because that's a television. I know that there's the new reimagined version, not the 1980s, 1978 weird version. So, but there are lots of themes in there also that harken back to Catholicism. You can
Oh
the
yeah,
theology of Battlestar Galactica, lots of moral and ethical questions have been asked, and
sure.
so because of you talking about it, and it was like, yeah, this is exactly how I feel it like it too. And then I'm from this evangelical culture. I was barely okay to read Tolkien because he was a Christian as well, but I could not read Harry Potter. So when I was in my dorm, I wanted to read Harry Potter, but I couldn't because my roommate would. Yeah, I could also not do violent computer games because thou shalt not kill. That's the background. So I was trying to explain, I'm not killing anyone. There's just pixels changing color on my screen. There's nothing happening. It's bits and bytes.
And
But
if you want to read some good violent stories, just go read the Bible. It's worse than Game of Thrones.
yeah,
Seriously.
yeah. So and also I could not, for example, uh, I like symphonic rock, so hard rock
Uh
with
huh.
with story in it. But that also has sometimes weird storylines, and so yeah, I like Dream Theater and that kind of stuff. So, but I now when I'm now a Catholic, I can do that again. So that feels liberating. That's
Yeah, and it all. I think it's all about a culture, and I've noticed. Well, we both agree on that we've visited the United States several times, and of
hmm
course with SQPN we were very oriented towards North America, and we've said many times that it struck us how much Catholics in the United States are very influenced by an evangelical slash Baptist style of thinking. So it's
yeah,
very
it's
antithetical. Is that a word? It's
yeah,
like it's very much like us versus them,
yeah,
and
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 that's
the
exactly.
European Catholic tradition is much more kind of like open because we've got so many different cultures here,
We've
and
we've
it's
2,000 years of experience dealing with other cultures
I
as
guess
Catholics.
that's definitely part of it, and so it was always a bit interesting I remember having discussions with good friends that said when I became a Catholic or when I rediscovered my faith, I burned all my books, like all those evil books, and
Oh
we
yeah, I
threw
destroyed
away the
all my
television,
CDs. Yeah,
huh? And I was
or
like,
destroyed all my CDs. You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's maybe not it's not the most important thing that you have to get rid of.
No. But yeah, being there, and so by the time we went to the United States, I already went into full communion with the church, but it was like a weird deja vu because that's exactly the behavior my roommates and the Reformed Student Association I was part of so if we were listening to the radio while cooking and there was a certain song, it was as diabolical, then we
Yeah.
had to turn out the radio has to change the
Oh.
station,
Oh
or
wow.
because there could be messages played backwards in the
Oh
news.
yeah,
So
All those wacky stories that I've heard those too when I was like a lot of the
yeah,
youth work in the Netherlands was organized by the charismatic movement, and they
yeah,
got a lot of their info from Protestant churches, from Protestant charismatic movements, and it's only like 10 years later or something when the internet came about. It's like, okay, was that really like that was totally like made up? There's a lot of like
yeah, no,
fake news, but I, as a child, I believed it. I was like,
yeah.
so
I
wow.
I had a roommate who didn't want to buy anything that had a barcode on it because there was a theory that the barcodes were like the sign of the beast.
Oh yeah, that
So
kind of
that's kind
stuff.
of stuff, yeah. And
I mean, it's the same type of disinformation that you see around COVID and a lot of other things as well. But I always think it's important for Catholics to be very discerning there and open minded, and because otherwise you're going to make a fool of yourself, right?
yeah, yeah. So
But
yeah,
it strikes me. I think like part of the reasons I think that on TikTok this is going so fast is that apparently this is rare to find people from the church like being interested in kind of dominant culture. And I had no idea that I would ever do anything with anime because I thought it was super fringe. Like I already consider Lord of the Rings like kind of like really, really niche or
Hey,
niche. But for many people, it is.
not since the movies. Before it was.
Well, maybe, but
I liked it before it was cool. Just wanted to have noticed that.
it turns out that anime is actually like super big, and like this is a whole new world. But I'm intrigued. I just have to make sure that I don't alienate like the other fans that I have. Like, so I'm still struggling with how am I going to mix things up. So I need to do also Star Wars because very soon I'll be with Rob at the Star Wars celebration.
Is Rob is in here, right?
Rob is here, yeah.
Hi, Rob. Oh,
So
some lights.
Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday. I booked my flight to the US, so I'm
Yeah,
going to
with
be
Sander,
there.
right? Sander's
Yeah,
also in the
yeah, it's
room.
very very
Hi,
cool.
Sander. Yeah.
Sander helped me with that and donated his air miles, which was amazing.
Yes.
And so we found a very affordable flight back and forth. So that's going to be, but so I will be like doing mostly Star Wars. And so I was, maybe I should work ahead because I think ultimately what the ideal thing would be to have like a mix throughout the week where there will be anime, but also like superheroes, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, fantasy, so that you get as much as a kind of a like this broad geek culture without losing people. And that's the issue that I notice now with YouTube. The YouTube algorithm is a lot harder because it actually will penalize you from going off script. So if I did a lot of Star Wars, and that I saw the channel was starting to grow and grow and grow, and then I did Moon Knight, and it's like crash
Yeah.
because apparently I was not supposed to do that, and that felt so. I was like, but I don't want to do Star Wars all the time. My life is bigger than Star Wars. So on
Yeah.
on YouTube, I'm still and then now I'm more thinking, okay, but maybe it's not me who should adapt myself to the YouTube algorithm. I think YouTube should change and grow and better their algorithm because TikTok is blowing them out of the water if they continue like this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, but it's great that there's no new people because the more souls, the more fun. Is that also in English? Is that the expression?
the more the merrier.
The more the merrier. Oh.
The trick is going to be how to solidify the the audience and connect them with me and with Tridio also through other platforms. The big issue with TikTok is it can also it's very volatile. So if people want, they can file all sorts of complaints, and then your account gets canceled, and then you can lose sometimes millions of people. This happened to Mountain Torak, who's in Rome, and he posted a video on TikTok. He's very active on social media. He's mostly on Instagram and Facebook, and he's doing a terrific job. So he does these like tours of Rome, and he's clearly having a blast, and it works. And he's built up a very very great following of supporters and people that just once they've been in Rome, they always want to go back. So he provides them with that opportunity, at least digitally. And so he also started to post his videos on TikTok, and that worked really well. And then he posted a video, I think, of maybe was it his niece who took the Solideo of the Pope.
Yeah.
Like it was this little thing that was like all over the news, and then his TikTok account went viral, and I think he had like millions of people who were following him or at least watching. And then all of a sudden, like a week later, his account got canceled, and there was no appeal, and so he got clearly, some people were like, oh, that's a Catholic. Let's see if we can sabotage him. So I know that is bound to happen to me at one point as well. So I'm
Yeah, but
like,
if people have
okay.
a personal bond and you show up again, then people will look for you.
Sure, but it's a lot harder because the algorithm, of course, will then have to rediscover you. So
Yeah.
I know it's possible, but I've seen it happen also with people I follow in Ukraine. So there are lots of people in Ukraine that are using TikTok to give updates. And
Yeah.
I follow those because it's very interesting to hear just first
Yeah.
eyewitness accounts. And then there are like Russian bot factories, and they will just cancel those
Oh.
accounts one after another. So there's this kind of cat and mouse thing going on, and TikTok being the fastest growing platform in the world right now.
They
It's
don't
going
have
to be much
moderation
bigger.
in.
They cannot keep up with this.
Oh man.
So
It sounds a little bit like that Chinese dissident video that went viral in China, and the government
uh-huh,
couldn't keep up taking it offline. So went. So there was a hole in the big iron wall of the big great internet
uh-huh.
wall. So there was it was called Voices of
Ah,
April
okay.
Voices of what was happening in Shanghai with the lockdown. So yeah, it's
But we'll see. I think for multiple reasons it would be good to see if I can connect the TikTok audience with you this audience, and
yeah.
with Patreon and everything. And I'm just following textbook advice that I've actually learned on TikTok. So I'm following a lot of these TikTok marketeers and people that give you advice on how to do this. So what I do, and it's funny to see it work so well, because I follow the same trajectory with YouTube in order to make that grow. With TikTok, what I wanted to do is to emulate, and I think I've already explained this in one of my podcasts, so I apologize if this is a repetition. There is this screenwriter that I follow, and so he wrote for King of the Hill, for some other comedy series, and the thing is with screenwriters, they only get paid for the job, and then but a lot of the times there will be series gets canceled, and then they have to start all over again. So he figured out that he could maybe sell courses in screenwriting. How you want to help people to break into Hollywood, because that a lot of writers have that aspiration. That's a
Hmm.
very, very niche type of topic. So you can't
Yes.
just start a website like, hey, follow me. I'm a famous screenwriter. I'll teach you this. You're not going to get any traction. So his advisor told him the first thing you have to do is you have to build up a massive following on social media. And how do you do that? By providing value every single day. You just give away your knowledge. And then you grow and grow and grow your audience. Get them on your email list. That's step number 2.
Yeah.
And tell them that through your email list, they can get more of what they already get for free. And they will start subscribing to that email list. And then, once you have that audience on your email list, you can start to strengthen that bond, and you can start to pitch, that one course. But that's going to be at the end of the trajectory. What needs to happen first is to build that community, and then the rest will follow by itself. It's like, yeah, that is so obviously what I should do as well, because ultimately,
It's a customer journey, basically what he described.
yes, but my goal is not just to make this sustainable financially. What I want to do is to change people's lives.
Hmm.
And in order to be able to continue to do that, of course, there is also the financial aspect of it, and you want to grow the amount of patrons, etc., because that's
Yeah.
what's keeping us afloat. Inge and me, we are able to do this
We are powered by the community.
by the community.
Yeah.
I don't have a TV job anymore that could
Yeah.
pay for everything. So this year, we need to at least get to the point that we can break even. We're not there yet. So we have a vested interest. If we want to do these talks like in December and next year, we
Yeah.
need to get to that point where we get enough patrons so that it covers our expenses.
Hmm.
So now I think that the way to do this, now that TikTok is such a hit, what I need to do is get people on that email list as soon as I can. And then so that's why I do a lot of biking. Like I just came back from a bike ride to Arnhem where I bought
Yeah.
a new
I
computer.
tease I tease people about your adventure there.
Man, it's like an hour and 15 minutes to go there. And this is not Holland here. This is like hills up and down. And like I had
Small
to
hills.
climb 8%. That's not small, Inge. Like my behind is still hurting. And I have to do it twice because I have to also bike back. No, it's a very strenuous bike ride. And so but I do that because I need a lot of time to think, to develop ideas. That's what I do when I bike. That's what I do when I run. I just like, okay, how am I going to do this? What can work? Why would people subscribe to the newsletter? Because we've only done like, hey, this week we've done podcast X,
Yeah.
podcast Y, podcast Z. Go click here and listen.
And most people already
Why?
have listened to it because
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So that's why we
exactly.
stopped doing that. Yeah.
So yeah, uphill both ways, yes, Michiel, because of course you have to go up the hill and then you go down the hill and then you come back, you go up the part that you went down on, right? So it's physics.
It's,
Sorry.
it's multiple hills. Just yeah.
But, and then I figured, okay, I cannot keep adding to my workload. So I
No.
need to do something that I'm already doing, but I have to do it in a smarter way. So what am I doing every day, every week? I'm writing these videos. I'm writing scripts for explaining, why these bikini ladies are shooting lasers at demons from hell, dressed up as robots. And so and I write these texts. It's a small step for me to turn that into a book. The only thing I need to do is to write it in such a way that you could also read it, which I do because every video is just me reading from a teleprompter on my phone. If I collect all these little things, the same thing with the homilies. Like every week, I spend quite a bit of time thinking, how can I connect today's gospel with a movie that I watched, and how can I do that homily in such a way that it can also function as a standalone podcast, because that's what Inge does on Monday. You cut it out of the mass and then you post it on a podcast feed for the patrons. So I'm already used to doing that. It's only a small step to sit down and to type one page just with the contents of that homily. And then I was like, but what if I emulate another smart guy, Andy Weir, who, of course, the writer
Oh,
of The
the
Martian,
Martian. Oh, that's
the writer
awesome.
of Artemis and Project Hail Mary.
Yeah.
So when he started writing The Martian, he didn't have a contract. He didn't have a publisher. He had never written a book.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
this is his first book.
It's such a great book.
So what he did is, I'm going to write that. I'm just going to publish it for free. I'm just going to put it on my blog. And because this has a lot of science, and sure, he was a science enthusiast, but it's just an amateur, I'm just going to ask for feedback. Just, is this correct?
Oh,
What would
cool.
happen if and so he got hundreds of people helping him write those chapters, and they would go do the fact checking for him and come back. And it's like, well, you know what? You know what would be funny? If you want to grow your own food, you got to use your own excrements and potatoes. And it's like, okay, tell me more. How would I do that? And what would happen if, and then so that's how he wrote his book. But then he amassed like a crowd of tens of thousands of people that were already invested in the book. And you might think, but you've given it away for free, right? Why would people buy that book? They buy it
Well,
because they were part of the process. So
yeah.
they want to have the finished book. So I'm thinking that is something I can do. And now I was thinking about my next journey to the United States. You may know that, or you may not know because it happened in the prehistoric times. I once wrote a book called Geek Priest, and it
Yeah.
was published
It's it.
by Ascension Press? No, not even Ascension
Franciscan
Press.
Franciscan Media.
Franciscan Media.
Yeah.
And it got like a decent run. I think we sold a couple of thousand books, and which is very small for the American market. But anyway, in my contract, it stated that if they wouldn't reprint it, after a while, I would get the rights back. So at one point, I got the rights back, and I've
And
never done anything with it.
And Rob has them in his garage, right?
Rob has, so they offered me, so if we have some leftover books, a couple of hundred, if you want to buy them for, what was it, like $1 a piece, that's okay. So Rob actually got those books. And then in 2020, I was going to the United States. I was like, okay, I'm going to do a few talks in the parish, and I'm just going to sell that book or give it away or whatever. Yeah. Now I'm thinking, because that book is ancient. I think I wrote that before I did the Dutch adaptation, which is a lot better.
Which I have read to correct errors. Helps you.
Yeah. I think the book ends with
15, 16, something like that. Did you write it? The English
version? I think it ends with the election of Pope Benedict, in fact. And then the Dutch book ends with the election of Pope Francis, where literally, like I wrote the last page the day after Pope Francis was elected, just to be kind of topical. But anyway, that shows you how long ago it was. But now I'm thinking, you know what? I have all the rights. I can republish this on Amazon, maybe even add some stuff to it. But better, I'm going to make part 2. I'm going to make part 3. This is going to be a big series, just Geek Priest 2. And because what I did in those chapters was every time tell a story and then connect it with geek culture. And that's a very easy format for me to write about, because I do that every week. In my videos on TikTok, I do that on YouTube, I do that in my podcast, I do it during Mass. So I have a ton of material. And if that, if that can be a reason, so I said on TikTok, I'm writing this book about exactly this kind of stuff that I'm talking about here on the video. If you like, I'm sharing free chapters if you sign up for my email list. What I'm going to do now is just like that script writer from Hollywood. I'm going to tell in every video, I'm going to say something about that. It's like, hey, by the way, I'm writing a chapter about Neon Genesis Evangelion and why you should shoot lasers in your bikini. If you follow me on, if you sign up for the email newsletter, you'll be able to read it for free. I hope that pitch is going to help. And so then I get people out of TikTok. So even if TikTok breaks my account, which eventually might happen, I will still have all those contacts, and I can still tell them, hey, you know what? TikTok broke my account, but I started a new TikTok, and here's where you can find it. It's stuff like that. You need to have people in your own system.
Yeah, you need to own your own platform at one point, so you can make advertisement for your platform on social media, but that should not be your platform because of the reason you just mentioned. That's what Michael Hyatt says.
Yes. So always have your own website and your own email list. And it sounds super old-fashioned, but it works. Yeah. Because no one owns email. And that's the problem with social media. There's always an owner. Look at Twitter now. Elon Musk has bought Twitter. He's not doing that for charity. He is in the money-making business. His Tesla stocks are super overpriced. So that's a bubble that's about to burst. So he's just buying Twitter so he can, pour money into another asset that he can make money off. Yeah. But it could very well be that if he starts to...
It's also taken off the stock exchange. It's now private again. So he doesn't have shareholders to telling him what he can or cannot do. So
he can break it.
He can make it or break it.
And I think he's going to break it, seriously, because he's kind of crazy. So what I think will happen is he's going to relax the moderation rules. It's going to be flooded with trolls. I'm pretty sure that Trump is going to be back on Twitter in no time, because that's a money-making machine that gives traction. The moment Trump is back on Twitter, glory days are here again.
But it it means that you cannot have a normal conversation on there anymore.
Exactly.
So
It means
I
I
find
won't be on
I've
Twitter anymore. And I
no
think
I've
that the millions of people will leave the platform, which means that's no longer a platform that I can use to build a community. And that can
yeah
happen to Facebook as well. It can happen to Instagram, can happen to TikTok.
yeah. So yeah, so well, freedom is a good thing. Too much freedom is not a good thing. But it's also, I think, a cultural difference between us here in Europe, being so there's freedom of speech here in Europe. There's also freedom of speech in the United States, and Elon Musk is libertarian, which means that you can say what you want, when you want, whatever you want, and that's it. But that means that that means that it becomes a cesspool of opinions. So everybody can just do whatever. But it also that means that for example the Russian bots will be have free range because freedom of
Yeah.
speech. And
Well, what I've, yeah.
in
Sorry.
Europe, it's like you can say what you want on the condition that you don't are not racist. You don't hurt. You cannot be bad saying stuff about gender. So you cannot be a bigotry. It's just that's the line. So and then you can be um, how do you say that? Sued. So I'm interested how he wants to do that with the European freedom of speech rules laws
That's one
because
of
you
the major problems, yes. But the thing
yeah
is, I've following quite a few like experts, also when it comes to the algorithm, and they all say you basically can't have both things. You have to moderate. If
yeah
if you want to get rid of the bots, it means you cannot open it up for
yeah
everything. So if there was a fix for this, they would have
yeah
implemented it years ago.
yeah
So I just use this example. This is not about Twitter, and I certainly don't want to go into politics, but
no
I just want to tell you that any social media platform can go off track,
yeah
whether that is on purpose, whether it's because of a certain people in charge, but it's
yeah
not a solid base. If you go just if I know people that are only active on Twitter. If Twitter, for one reason or another, becomes like a toxic environment and people start leaving, they have nothing left. Same is true for
no
TikTok. I don't want to make that mistake.
yeah
That's why I want to make sure that we have our own community where
yeah
we also can protect it, because that's one
yeah
of the big issues that I notice. If you don't moderate,
yeah but
people will no longer feel safe.
that's also what I was wanted to go to with the European rules and so. The reason that people like our community is because it's heavily moderated, but you don't notice it. If you moderate right, to do it the right way, people feel free to say whatever they want. But but the key is that you feel free. You don't hold back because you're fear of out of fear to be attacked
Yeah.
or be ridiculed or something like that. That's because at the back end we are just very strict in you cannot name calling. You cannot do slurs. We don't do
Yeah.
politics. We don't do
We don't do
all kinds of
politics. And
no.
it's important. It's very important to stress this, because I see in the comments that the tension is rising. But I feel that it's super important to and this is in a certain way moderation what we do.
Yeah.
So we don't same true is on Discord. We don't do political discussions, and it's not about who's right or who's wrong. But we know that political discussions, especially because of the climate in the United States, this is a very localized problem, even though it's a big
Yeah.
country. But
Yeah.
it's like I've noticed so often that people in the United States have no idea how particularly localized
Culture.
their culture is, and also
Yeah.
especially the opposite, the how would you say that, polarization.
Yeah.
There is
Exactly.
some of it in other countries over here as well, but not to the extent as it is in the United
Yeah.
States. And if there's one thing that I think can make people feel unsafe, is if they feel that they have to choose sides.
Yeah.
And we are in the business of creating a faith community, and politics is that's fine, but it's not part of what we want to build, and we know how divisive it can be. That's not what
Yeah.
we want.
No, it's not that we are against certain opinions, political opinions, but in my experience, I've been doing this for 20 years. There are two things on the internet with text where people cannot see each other and hear each other, is what that makes communities blow up. That's politics and religion. Because of
Yeah.
certain, let me make it broader, ideology. So to make it broader than religions, because other ideologies can be as bad as. But if because you cannot see another person, you cannot hear another person, you don't know the facial expressions, and you're just typing to a computer screen. It's very easy to go to hurt people without realizing it. It's
Yeah.
not even intentional that people hurting each other. And so, in my experience, I've learned in the past 20 years that for some kind of discussions, you can better go to the pub and have a pint of beer and talk about this than on the internet.
True.
That's my take on it. So it's not that we are against political or we are against Republicans or against Democrats, which don't exist outside the United States. But it's just this thing because people inadvertently hurt each other, and if people are hurt or if there's tension, then the atmosphere gets ruined, and then this people don't feel safe. Also, for example, those atheists you talked about, to ask very questions they feel vulnerable about, and we want to
True. True.
create this atmosphere where people feel uh, um, will feel free to have this discussion. And Mary asked, well, what do you do when one side dominates the discussion? We don't do discussions. That's
Yeah.
we that's my point. As soon as something doesn't matter what it's about, if it's the leftist, right or centrist topic, if people start discussing, so this is my opinion, you're wrong, or this is better, then I'm kind of we're stopping this right here. We do not do discussions in our community like this. So
Yeah.
you can go to Twitter, you can go to
Sure. Yeah.
catholicanswers.com.
There
There
are
are
many
lots of
many
places.
places. Yeah.
So the thing is, as soon as people start discussing, I have to be moderating. I have to be on top of this discussion, and in order to keep the environment sane, I have to moderate. But I don't have the hours. I'm paid by you, the community, to do financial stuff, to make sure that father doesn't have to do everything all by itself. So I have a limited time, so I cannot do on my own this moderation, and of course Michiel and Margot helping us in the chat room, but they have jobs, so they cannot be everywhere at all the time. So as soon as this turns into a discussion, we just say, well, this is a great topic to talk about. You can go to Catholic Answers or other forums, Reddit, which are organizations who have full-time paid moderators to help you stay in this. But we have no don't have the capacity to do this. So this is not it's nothing having nothing to do with suppressing one side or the other side. It's just
No.
being
No. It's
practical.
just an experience. We've been doing this for 20 years. And so we both have, and even before that, I think both you and I
Yeah,
have been active on social media ever since the beginning.
yeah,
So
the old back BB forums time.
we
Yeah,
know how, and these are kind of universal processes. I mean, you studied psychology, but
yeah,
this is also about triggers, about how our brains work. It's like, so it's not that it's not naivete. This is just, we know that we have to be very, very vigilant to keep this, a place where everybody feels safe and respected. Also, what I think I'm learning from TikTok and my interaction with the TikTok community is, I I on TikTok, I would say 90% of the people that I interact with have nothing with faith and might live lives that
yeah,
are very contrary to the gospel, might have all sorts of opinions that I could not agree with. But it is not my job there to, in what way or another, correct their thinking. It's what
yeah,
I want is them to change, but change only happens, and you know that better than I do, Inge.
hmm,
You can only change if you feel safe, if you
yeah,
feel respected,
yeah.
because that gives you the motivation to become a better person. But if the other person starts hitting on you, what you do is you're not going to change. You're going to put up a wall.
Yeah, you can go defensive, and And
Yeah.
people not only put up a wall, they dig a trench, and the other side also digs a trench, and then people start flinging stuff to each other, and the other people are hunched in the middle waiting for the projectiles from both sides to stop, but it doesn't stop. So, and that's also why I'm not on Twitter. So why I'm not on certain social media, because Twitter started off really nice from what I'm here doing today and how you had really nice conversations, but at one point it became toxic and more toxic, and
Sure.
for me it became too toxic, so I left. So I think what we are doing is not saying Twitter should be heavy moderated. Twitter should do whatever it wants, but the actions have consequences. That's one of my mantras. So if you do something, it has a consequence, and you need to think about the consequences. Are the consequences of the action worth the action? And if your consequence of the action is that lots of people are leaving a platform, is that worth having no rules, for example? Maybe the answer is yes, it's worth having no
I don't
rules.
know.
But I won't be there then. So that's my thing. Yeah.
The good question. Can you respect sinful behavior? That's not what I'm trying to say. This is not about condoning or even blessing things that I think are contrary to the gospel and to the faith, but it is the age old advice is hate the sin, love the sinners, and that's what I do when I hear confessions. People tell me the worst things,
Hmm.
but I'm not there to point the finger at them and to kind of rub it in and you're evil and this. I'm there to show how much God loves them and wants to help them. So what I do is I rarely say, well, but that was stupid. How could you do that? That's the worst. I've had confessors myself that did that, and
Yeah.
it's very
You,
dangerous to do
you
that.
never go again.
No, but it's
Yeah.
actually it's. I think it's a counter witness because it's not what Jesus does when he interacts with sinners. So what I always try to do is the people have a conscience.
Yeah.
Everybody has a conscience, even Putin. The only thing I need to do is make them feel loved and safe, so that that conscience can start working again.
Yeah.
So I need to tickle the conscience, and I do that by affirming what is good. So and
Yeah.
by giving suggestions, but maybe you could try this. Maybe what I also share my own, weakness and sometimes like someone can tell me something in confession, and I was like, dude, I could have told you exactly the same thing, but here's what helps me. And so I'm trying to be next to that other person instead of
Yeah.
just in like, because I'm not God. I'm not the final judge. I'm there to help. I'm there to
Yeah.
help them change their lives. And
Yeah.
so that's how I feel very at ease on TikTok, even though it's the kind of people like I often click on the profiles. So if someone says I'm an atheist, and then there's like I click on the thing, and then oftentimes you see videos. Like there's this guy, and he said that he had a tattoo of the angel that appears in the beginning of the anime that I talked about in my little theology of angels, and so that he had a tattoo of that on his throat. I'm like, whoa, okay, let's click. I want to see that. And then I see this guy, and he's got like piercings. Like I didn't even know it was physical possible to put like nails and stuff and whatever, and then covered in tattoos. But I'm thinking, isn't that amazing? This would be someone that I would have never dared to approach in real life. Same thing for that person. He would never walked up to a priest in a Roman collar
Yeah.
to, hey, can you talk about faith? And yet here in the comments on Twitter, he's like, dude, that was so cool about the angels. Can you tell me more about the angels? Oh, I love that. And it's like, he's listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
This also from sinful behavior. So in psychology we call it bad behavior, or deviant behavior, whatever. But it's something you have a knee-jerk reaction to. You want to correct. Also, if
sure.
you are a psychologist and the person on the other side of sitting in a chair. But what is very important for us, what we learn in what I also posted in about love your father and your mother, is someone can do sinful behavior and things that are objectively wrong, but we have to remember that people have a free will. People have
Sure.
a will, if they're not a right, but well, out of their free will, they can do things that are objectively bad, and that, but also uh, that has the consequences is also they are not free to the consequences of whatever they're doing it, what is bad.
Sure.
But we so the fact that we respect the fact that they are free agents in that respect, dus they can do what they want because out of free will, does not imply that we agree with everything they are doing.
No, no, no,
So
certainly not.
that for me that back when I was a student, that was a very insightful remark. That if someone does something that's sinful behavior, just um, being lovable, being open, and just trying to be keep communication open, because that's what you do as a psychologist, does not mean that I'm agreeing with the behavior. I'm just trying to keep communication channels open so I
Yeah.
can talk to that person. So, and
And
that's also
I've noticed so often that if even if someone attacks me and ridicules me on social media, if you stay friendly and you kind of break but sometimes they're trolling you because they want you to react like they're what they
yeah,
think the church always does is like you're evil, you're bad, I hate you, is like because then they have a reason to say, you see, that's why I'm an atheist, these
yeah,
hypocritical Catholics. But I don't play that game. I was
no,
like, that's an interesting remark. You know what? That makes me think. From my point of view, I would say, but I'm not you. But so that's how I approach. And
yeah,
then what you often see is that breaks down that wall. That they sometimes they are afraid of the truth, right? They are afraid to
yeah,
change, but their conscience is intact. Everybody has a conscience, so I know that God is whispering in their ear, and they will if I create, so I'm facilitating a situation and an atmosphere so that their conscience can start working again. And that's
yeah,
never going to be like yesterday I was an awful pagan atheist who was pro-abortion and who did the worst things, and but now I've listened to Father Roderick and now I'm a changed man. That's of course not going to happen.
yeah,
And I usually have very suspicious of those conversion stories, but it
yeah,
can be the beginning of a way, and I've seen it time and again for these 20 years that we've been doing this. I have seen people change, and it sometimes took 10 years. And
yeah,
even now that I've found people that, oh my gosh, you're that priest from the Harry Potter series that nobody said I could listen to. And or I now have maybe 10 years later, maybe 15 years later,
yeah,
maybe I will never see their conversion, but I can believe that if I keep acting like Jesus, so this is very much emulating
yeah,
the approach that Jesus had. Jesus was very strict, not with sinners, but with the Pharisees and the scribes who should know better. He knew
yeah,
that they could handle it, but he was very, very careful with sinners, with people that are fragile,
yeah,
because you can never know. Jesus knew, but I cannot know what happened in those lives and what brought them to this mindset or what. But what I can do is, help them to make small steps and change, and that's a fascinating process, and it's sometimes very hard because I can sometimes be super impatient, and sometimes
yeah,
I project, and I used to do this a lot where my own insecurities or the things that I was afraid of, or even my own thoughts, if I saw them with other people, I was like, oh, but that's awful, that's evil. You can start projecting like there's certainly a psychological process happening there, but the stuff that
coping
you
projection, coping mechanisms.
it's a coping mechanism. So the things
Okay,
that
yeah,
I feel threatened by, I condemn in the other person. So that makes me feel a little bit less insecure. And I've noticed that that is rarely a good thing to do. The best thing
yeah,
is to share that you know what, I don't have all the answers. Yeah, I'm a priest. Should I have all the answers? I hope not,
yeah.
because then that
Some
would I'm
someone
learning too.
someone told me once that we are made so we are so as followers of Christ we are also high priests and we are kings, but one thing we are not, and that's the judge. So we are not the judge. God is the judge, and
True.
so,
Hey, and
so
and and you can never listen too much to other sides. I mean, if
Yeah.
people condemn you for that, then that's
Saying something
their
about them.
bad.
Yeah.
It's saying something
Yeah.
about them. I think
Yeah.
that's a virtue to always be listening.
Yeah.
Jesus also said to the woman, that's a good one, it's just a few weeks ago in the gospel, go and sin no more. He did that, but right before that, he said, where are they, your condemners? Are they gone? Has nobody condemned you? I will not condemn you either. It's Jesus who says, I will not. Go and sin no more is an admonition. It's like, I'm not blocking your future anymore. I am not going to judge you. I certainly don't want you to be stoned, but I'm sending you on your way. And from now on, sin no more. Be a better person. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a positive thing. And
Yeah.
he doesn't mention the sins. That's so interesting. It's like the accusers. Jesus is not like, yeah, and about like all those sins that you did. Yeah,
You know,
let's
the
talk
one
about it.
with the, yeah. Yeah.
He knows that woman there knows exactly what she did wrong. So he's like, go and try to do better. That's what I say to anyone who comes to confession, knowing very well, also from personal experience, that rarely works. You know, you start again, and are you going to be a saint from now on? That would be an amazing gift, but I've never received it. But it's this encouragement, like I'm going to try, and bit by bit, step by step, and with God's
Yeah.
grace, I may become better.
Yeah.
But that's a journey. But I am glad if someone encourages me. But if you say, "Hey, you are a sinner. You think wrong. You should think this. You should do that," walls go up. I
Yeah.
have that same thing. You know, people have accused me so often for being a bad priest, like that I would lure people into esoteric stuff, and people have like, and I know it's all projection. They don't know. Usually, these people have never listened to a podcast. They don't know who I am, but they have this idea. Oh, he's doing this, so he must be that.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to be judged
That's
like that.
judgment. Yeah.
But I should also be very careful judging other people. So again, when I talk about sin, I would never make it personal. I would always, like, even in videos, I'm certain to talk about morality because there's a lot of depravity in those manga or anime series. But I always have to be very careful that this is like I add my thoughts, but it's up to my viewer or my listener to consider that. And
Yeah.
if they consider it, I've won, basically, because I know that ultimately the truth is too strong to resist. The only thing I need to make sure is that they hear the truth. But if I start by, I am going to watch this anime series, but I'm going to skip over all the bad stuff because that's evil, you know that, and you should go to confession if you watch that, then I've lost. Nobody would listen. So I will have missed an opportunity to also talk about the truth and about
Yeah.
anything. So
Yeah. So
it's
yeah.
difficult.
There
It's
was
always a tightrope, but it's
yeah.
fascinating.
It's fine. The final thing what I want to say is like that being non-judgmental is very key because we are not to judge. So and the Catholic Church has also objective sinning versus subjective sinning. So if you don't know if that you're sinning, then it's not a sin. So if even if I see someone is sinning and I'm being judgmental, then I have to step back like, why am I being so judgmental? Or why am I telling this person this and that? Is that because I want to maybe feeling good about myself? Like
Yeah,
that
very good point.
Pharisee in the temple from, oh God, thank you that I'm not that woman,
Yeah,
so that it's very easy to become that person. And we all know what happened to that person. So being not being judgmental is just trying not to become that Pharisee in a temple, just um,
yeah.
telling God, I'm so happy I'm not that sinner, because you are at the very moment you think that.
And the best way to know how to do these conversations and how to engage people that are, may not be there yet, because everybody's on a journey, is to always focus on emulating Jesus. How does he act? What does he
Yeah.
do? What would he do in this situation? Can I be like him? And people knew that he respected them, that he loved them, that he wanted to help them. That's why thousands and thousands came to him. And you know, you may actually pay a price for that. And I'm very, very aware of that. If you try to be good, there are still going to be people that hate you. And, you know, why would
Yeah.
that not happen to me when it happened to Jesus and it happened to almost all the apostles? So you have to be prepared for that as well. You
Yeah.
have to pay a price for that kind of meekness and good-heartedness. And it's not always going to be a success. But that's okay as long as as long as I can reach a few people and it helps them change their lives. I've done my work. It's not about numbers.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
So,
think that we need to start. My
so we're,
stomach is telling me that we've been going
it's
on
one
for a
one
while.
hour, almost 90 minutes, but we're
Oh
making up for
wow!
last past week. So yeah, what's the topic of our chats is yeah, we usually start off telling what happened, and then we interact with the community and give our take. So I hope you learned something, or you can take something home or whatever.
It, it
Yeah,
it's this is kind of the.
nourishment.
It's good to have this conversation because this is what
Yeah,
we've been you know, like what we do is not just about making programs. That's kind of the end result. But this is a much more important like. But how do we do the things that we do, and can
yeah,
we make a difference there? And so we have a lot of discussions about this kind of
yeah,
stuff, and for us it's also trial and error. Sometimes we
yeah,
we we, we recognize that we need to maybe change our approach a little bit and see what
yeah.
works. But anyway, thank you so much for your support. Thanks for your time and for your willingness to listen to our banter. It's always good to connect with you. And we're going to celebrate the weekend. What are you going to eat tonight, Inge?
Pancakes. You know what I'm going to do tonight? I'm going to Middle.
Pancakes.
Yes, and I'm going to Middle Earth because
Uh huh.
in Lotro. So if anybody of you watching now
Nobody
is
plays Lotro because it's sinful. You go to
oh
hell if you play it.
it's Lotro. If you're if you want to hang out with us other sinners, we are us all sinners. So we are. So I'm going to sin tonight. I'm going to play Lotro.
Very
And
good.
I kind of yeah, and so there's this anniversary festival that started April 20th. That will be until May the 12th.
Ah.
And there's one thing. They made all the areas in this game until level 95 free to play because it's the 15th anniversary.
Oh,
And they
wow.
also gave away a lot of goodies, including area of the Volar. So you can insta level to 105. I'm not paid by Standing Stones to make this advertisement, but I just want to play with the community, and I will be in the video chat on Discord, and we will. If people want to join, that's the more the merrier. I just learned this expression. We are on the Landroval server,
Yeah.
the US server, and I'm Goloret and father is Brisley. So, and we are on the Lonely Mountain Bed. So that's the end of the advertisement.
All right.
So yeah,
I'm gonna make some food. I think I'm gonna make some fries. I'm hungry.
pancakes.
I am not very good at making pancakes, but Inge is now a Lotro influencer. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, tonight. Normally, I'm taking a break for being a Valheim influencer.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Inge, will you end the stream?
Yes, I will.
Very
Take,
good.
take,
Talk to you
see,
guys
see, see you
later.
later. See you all later. Hey, on Landerfall.
Bye.
Bye.